Hello and welcome to AITPM News. And in this edition we cover when numbers become more important than people, transport for the last mile, results from America's first transit incentive program, and IKEA is selling bikes. At a recent AITPM Young Professional Group meeting in Sydney, Brian Smith began his presentation by saying,
So transport planning and traffic engineering are full of numbers, levels of service, demands, patronage flows, numerical warrants. But all these numbers we sometimes forget, behind these numbers are people, real people whose lives are affected by the design and planning decisions that we make. And so there's a risk that these numbers that we use in transport planning distance us from the people that we're basically trying to plan for. And I think in particular that the sort of latest of developments in big data and digital mean that there's a risk that we'll be even further distanced from the people whose lives we will affect.
He referred specifically to the desire to design bus routes so that everyone is within 400 metres of a service. The problem can come when this becomes a rule where we might think we have solved all the problems when in fact we have implemented a cumbersome system. He cited examples of his work in New Zealand, where he rationalised local bus routes from ones that were circuitous to ones that were more direct but did not come to within 400 metres of as many houses. Patronage had been in decline, but after the changes it went up significantly. Not everyone gives up if they have to walk more than 400 metres. We must not lose sight of individual preferences compared to average numbers. Taking up Brian's point about the 400 metres to the nearest public transport system, in transport delivery there is the understanding of the difficulty and high cost of delivering a person or product the last mile, the final distance to the specific destination. Carmaker Ford has run a competition with its employees called the Last Mile Mobility Challenge. While a smart form of travel might replace car trips, I am concerned about the idea that we have to motorise the whole trip. This is important for people with disabilities and that should be a priority, but we still want to encourage active transport wherever possible, and mixing any form of motorised transport in a precinct with a significant number of pedestrians has its difficulties. Perhaps the biggest impact of new forms of transport, including autonomous vehicles, will be on freight, especially for the last mile. Last year, the San Francisco Bay Area BART system instigated a program to offer rewards to commuters who shifted away from travelling in the peak period. The results so far show a positive attitudinal response to the program, but only a small change in behaviour. About 18,000 people signed up for earning points that could be exchanged for cash whenever they rode the train. However, on average, it was 250 people a day who actually switched their commute to avoid the packed 7:30 to 8:30 peak period. That's better, but not as large as might have been hoped. There have been successful incentive programs in places like Singapore and Bangalore in India, but the success must involve a multifaceted approach, including constructive attitudes from employers. IKEA has recently started selling its own bicycle called the Slider that is shipped directly to you for you to assemble. A non-traditional supplier can offer some creative ideas that will appeal to the specific market. The bike is said to offer a utility-focused urban commuter ride. Instead of a greasy chain, it uses a belt drive. It has 2-speed gears that change automatically. It has a sturdy centre kickstand to hold the bike upright, minimising its footprint in a small apartment and easing rack loading. The front basket works as a dining table or a grocery cart. It aims for little maintenance. It's not especially light at 15 kilograms, but at about 520 Australian dollars, it could do for cycling what the Model T Ford did for cars.